all. Shrimoy, thanks so much for giving me this opportunity. I don't know if you know this, but this is probably the third panel discussion that Rahul, Gaurav, and I are on. This could become a traveling act, and we are taking bookings, advance bookings for this. So, guys, I'm really excited to have both of you all here again. I keep saying this that out of all my favorite stories that come out of India and Indian fashion, you two have to be the top ones. Both, in your inimitable ways, have made such huge fashion successes, not just on home ground, but truly, in the truest sense of the word, in the global market and on the international runways. And as someone who's closely monitored their careers from year one, I know that that's been quite an arduous task. Rahul, I remember meeting him for the first time in 2006 when everybody realized that there is a young designer called Rahul Mishra whose first collection was a tribute to Kerala, if I'm not mistaken. Was it Kerala handwoven? And everybody's, who is Rahul Mishra? And I think he's answered that question beautifully since then as to who he is and what is it that he really stands for. And then to my right, I have a man who started his label spelled backwards. But that didn't really stop him from going forward and charting a very, very avant-garde success story for himself. Both could be like chalk and cheese, and yet both have so much in common between them. Both have been resilient, both have the confidence and the clarity that any young designer today should have. They're like a case book on what to do right. And more importantly, and I don't say this lightly, both knew when to say no. Both knew what they did and did best, and anything else that took them away from it. And I especially remember having these conversations with Gaurav where he said, there are certain things I just won't do. I won't change what my aesthetic is. And Rahul, you never hear him say much unless you say the word craft, and then you can't get him to stop. So it's a real pleasure, boys, to have you both here. I'm gonna have a couple of common questions, and then I want to talk to each one of you separately. So my first question is, as any young designer, retailer, Couture Week, International Couture Week is like the holy grail. And yet you guys have not only made it, but been consistently strong there. What aspect of your story appealed to the jury there, to the body there, to the market there, according to you? Rahul, I'll go with you first. Oh, you have your
So, hello everyone. It's wonderful to be here, and thank you so much for asking us to talk about this. And I really hope that Gaurav is going to take this first, so that I get little cues. So yeah, I really feel for Paris Haute Couture Week, and this is what I always feel like, because it has been almost like 20 seasons to do, almost now 10 years in Paris, including Paris Fashion Week and now Haute Couture. I think Paris is the only city which can truly be said to be a global fashion week, because I think there are more designers outside France who are showcasing at Paris Couture Week. So what really is the most important thing is the unique design voice. What is the uniqueness you bring on the table? And I really feel like for our brand, what they really appreciate is the craftsmanship, is the whole idea, what we try to bring together, and also a point of view. Because when you think of craftsmanship at Couture Week, I think every brand who's showcasing any kind of hand embroidery is happening in India. So it's no longer about like just showcasing embroidery on your clothes. But I think it's just about what is the unique design voice you can bring on table? What is the unique thing you can add to the whole poetry, which is called haute couture in Paris?
I think that telling the story is so important. And Priya, I loved what you said about luxury and heritage. And I also feel for you as a royal, so much of luxury is heritage for me. As a media person, so much of luxury is telling the story. Gaurav, tell me about your story. How do you think you resonated with your audiences and your clients there?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us here. It's a great honor to be here. Um, I think, Priya, there is no shortcut to originality and to innovation. And I think the Federation de la Haute Couture is looking for that originality that's coming from all over the world. And as Rahul mentioned, it is not just, France and Paris has had the history of celebrating craft and celebrating originality in fashion and driving it. They've been in the driving seat. Like, fashion has been an industry organized from Paris. It kind of started from there. For us, for the world to know where haute couture, or the term of haute couture originated from France. And today they see, when we applied for the Paris Haute Couture Week, I think it literally is a sense of originality that they're looking for. They're looking for a story, a deeper storytelling. But I think beyond all of this, it's just design. They're looking at what is happening right now. They're really up to the trends. Uh, they now have the youngest new African designer on the Haute Couture Week. And today we don't realize, it is a huge feat. There are only 28 shows that happen at Haute Couture Week, including the likes of Dior, Chanel, Valentino. And Rahul and I are very fortunate to be a part of it. And today we are very fortunate to be creating history. And we are in a very particular position, not just from an India standpoint, but from a global standpoint.
But that brings me to my next question, guys, which is that a big chunk of your market in India is bridal wear, and you have such a beautiful, unique, distinct voice. I'm imagining the market and the appeal for your clothes with the international market is different. Is your how a my In two parts. My first question is, how is your international consumer different in their palate and appetite for your clothes to your Indian market? And B, does any of that influence the way you design? Gaurav, I'll go with you first.
So Beyonce just wore a sari gown for the
Don't
Renaissance
talk
tour.
about it. That was my next question.
Okay, but I'm just putting that together in context that, I think that was an iconic moment, just not just for me as a brand, and as a creator, but it was a moment for India and a moment for fashion altogether, because I was just at Neiman Marcus on my tour of trunk shows in Dallas, Miami, and San Diego. And that same sari gown was selling to all kinds of nationalities. So, that's where I see the translation happening. And I think both Rahul and I are not just, I've always seen India as a part of the globe. It's not like we are just Indian fashion designers. I happen to be from India. I celebrate this culture. I understand the ancestry it comes with. India is not just about embroidery or textiles and craft, which it is really rich with, but it's also about draping. It's also about philosophy, science, maths. And I think a lot of that, I think what's really kind of irritated me for years, that India is seen with this very, and a very particular lens from the world, which is just about the Taj Mahal or elephants. And, it's stereotyped in many different ways. But I think today we have the opportunity of telling this new story of India, which is much deeper, much more global. And coming to that, I think today there's an Indian person who is truly global, is traveling all over the world. So they could be a diaspora client, or they could be a mixed ethnicity. They could be somebody who's half Indian, half French, half Indian, half American. There's so many cross-cultural weddings. There are Indian weddings which have a white gown for their ceremony. There's so much diversity that's happening in cultural evolution, which is which is giving birth to new cultures globally.
So that's really interesting. What you're saying is you are doing what you do best, and your vision and your signature style and your aesthetic language is finding its place in
Yeah.
markets
So
and
Priya, when I started with the Indian bridal market, I was not making lehengas. Today there is a, there was the Indian bride was not wearing gowns to her wedding or to any of her functions in the wedding. Today, she's wearing a sculptural gown by Gaurav Gupta, and it has become a staple for her to wear a statement gown for one of her events. So I think we've been part of the cultural story in that sense. So that's where you shift culture, and that's the junction where India becomes global and the globe comes to India.
Correct. Interesting. Rahul, what's your version of this?
So, when it comes to designing, what we really we work upon a kind of idea, because again, we studied, like me and Divya, we both study in ID. So we became fashion designer later on, first became designers. So in that way, like whole idea of graphic design, whole idea of storytelling and all that kind of thing. And also, when you think about local and global, they look like they're opposites, but actually local and global are quite similar. Like you might have a very basic, simple local story, which might be an inspiration from a small little village, which you've gone somewhere, traveled to somewhere, you just spotted something which is so beautiful. That is inspiring, create a global phenomena out of it. That's what the power of design is. That's what the power of haute couture is. So idea is like last season, we took a simple inspiration from the craftsmen who are doing the embroidery itself. So that's a collection of We the People. And I remember right before our shows, we always discuss each other, me and Gaurav, we get on a phone call. He said, I know, तू तो print out लगा रहा अपने embroiderers के. So, so that's how we always like talk about each other's ideas and all that on a lot of phone calls like that. So yeah, it is fun. So, very simple idea, very basic idea. What do you create out of it? And so when we start designing, we do not think about, like, it's very hard for me to visualize a muse as a designer. I just look at how can this craft or art or idea can be represented. And then after that, what silhouette it gets into, whether it's a jacket or a lehenga or a gown, is just incidental. It's just artwork can translate from a simple short dress to a lehenga. It's very simple thing in that way. So I really feel, and even for a client, like I'm just sharing with somebody, just I think last week only, we had like, Divya got a message on her phone about like somebody swiping card worth 50 lakhs in one sale. It was like somebody from Thailand who had come to shop.
Send me that client as well.
On a Mumbai store. So I said, who is, because we realized like it's no secret, like in fashion, I think a lot of business also is run on on a lot of cash component. But here, when you see somebody using card like that, I was like very encouraged. But then I was disappointed. It's not like Indian buyer. It was like.
I think these stories are so important. They are stories of such pride. May there be many Thai, African, Swedish, all kinds of buyers, all swiping 50 lakhs and more for both of y'all. So I love that today's conversation puts a spotlight on craft and craftspeople, something both of y'all work closely with. Whilst we do that, whilst we tell stories about craftspeople to the world, whilst we put a spotlight on them in India, what are we doing to help them upscale or evolve their own crafts so that they can continue to cope and they can continue to survive in this more modern light of fashion?
So today we employ like 500 people in our enterprise, and some of those craftspeople have been with us since 17, 18 years. And it's been we've created a beautiful GG family as such. And sometimes I'm actually more emotionally invested in them in some of my relationships, which is a bit odd. But
Not the right platform,
yeah,
not the right platform.
Okay. Okay. The thing is, with the economic, socio-cultural boom happening in the country and in our industry itself, and with being driving forces, like I think I've also learned that from Rahul, how to empower and enrich our craftspeople. today there is cross-migration happening from villages, which Rahul has been talking about for many years. And we are also, there are families and units that are building in villages who are able to do embroideries for us and build a whole business structure around us. And we become examples of how to take the craft story forward in the most ethical way. And also when we cannot compare, today we struggle with pricing strategy from, okay, we can sell a particular piece in India for this much, and in America and Europe it would cost so much more. So I think that pricing balance will happen over the next decade or two, because India is a growing economic power. And within that growth, the craftspeople will get empowered. So it cannot be a very sudden jump. When it is a gradual jump, it's a gradual growth for the craftspeople, where we are actually paying all of them more than the average salary, where we are giving them all the benefits, all for their health, for medical, requirements, etc. Also, the pride that they work with when we give them a beautiful place to work at, where they see a celebrity, where they see Deepika Padukone is wearing an embroidery that I've made, and they are part of the story, they're part of the celebration. And I think it's a process. It's a process where the craftspeople are enriched over time. And also it's a task today, because craft in India has been a generational gift over, forefathers, over families. So today when we empower them, we encourage them to continue that family generations to for example, those are dosi karigars in my, a lot of people don't realize that we do a lot of Indian crafts, because what we end up embroidering does not eventually look very Indian, because it doesn't look like an elephant which is embroidered on a, on a velvet sherwani, but it is Indian because the technique is Ardozi. It doesn't have to look Indian.
And that is such an important point, Gaurav, that you are putting a spotlight on craft in your own uniquely beautiful way, but to the more traditional way. Rahul, tell us what you think.
So, from since NID days, and always I think about late Professor MP Ranjan, who used to teach us system design at NID. A Gandhian idea which comes to my mind always, like any step you take in any direction, think of the weakest person you can help in gaining his own Swaraj. So in that way, any process, anything which you want to do, like if I just say you as a designer, when I think about a graphic idea, the easiest is digitally printed. Digital printing is going to take half an hour job for somebody. Machine embroidery is going to take 50 hours a job. As you go on to hand embroidery, it creates 5,000 humans a job. So idea is like for us is the philosophy ASAP, as slow as possible. And I'm just going to give one example. Like I learned earlier, I used to only work with handloom. 2012, I came across this wonderful karigar called Mr. Afzal Zariwala, Afzal Bhai. We call him fondly. And that's what Gaurav mentioned, like we started process reverse migration with him, because I was migrating out of Mumbai back to Delhi or Noida. And then I asked Afzal Bhai also, where you are, these are not the best of conditions, the way we see in the movies like Slumdog Millionaire and all that. 10 or 15 people in a small 10 by 20 room, working throughout the day, sleeping over there. There's no sanitation, those are not the conditions anybody should live. So that's where the reverse migration started with Afzal Bhai, and in a small village called Bonpur. And why I'm sharing this with you, because recently we took him to Paris to witness the show. And to mine and Divya's surprise, we were really happy to learn he sent his daughter to study in London at further studies in economics. So I really feel like craft should empower craftsmen in such a way that their children should make a choice about what they want to be in their life. So this is something which me and Divya are completely committed about as a brand. And I really feel like for us, creating beauty, creating clothes become just a result, incidental, of the intent or the process which you want to follow in a life. So I think tomorrow if I can find a better profession than fashion design, which can employ more people, probably we will jump for that. But I think that's how I really feel about
To anybody
this
who
thing.
knows Rahul, this is such truth. He is all intent. I think every success that's come his way has come from the right intent. Okay, now to the most obvious question that you took away my thunder. Really, not
No one can
one,
take away your thunder, Priya.
not once, not twice, but thrice. Beyonce wearing Gaurav Gupta, guys, that's massive. And
Thank
not
you.
just Beyonce, you've had Angela Bassett, you had Coco Rocha, you had Cardi B, I think you had Shakira. What did you do this year?
Uh, well, I think it just happened. It's, once you have, once a magic moment happens, then it has a dominoes effect. And Beyonce actually wore us 5 times, not thrice, for the Renaissance tour.
Sure.
And and it was, and it just, we have managed to create iconic moments. We work with the lovely Hema Shri Bose, which is one of my best friends, and she has this agency in LA. She's also from St. Martin's. She understands Indian craft, Indian fashion, or what we do as well, very specially, and is able to strategize with us. And what I see, I know you've taken very large celebrity names right now, but we also dress like Karuna Nandi for Time 100, or we would dress Iman Vellani, who was the first South Asian to be Miss Marvel. So what are we dressing Sharon Stone for Saturday Night Live? And she's sending me a beautiful video saying thank you, which was so heartwarming. But I think what we are trying to do as a brand is create cultural moments for our brand. And these are all cultural icons. Megan Thee Stallion, when she wore us for Oscars,
Right.
that became a viral moment, and she was the best dress of Oscars.
That opened a floodgate.
That opened a
did.
floodgate. And I think after that, Cardi B wearing us for Grammys became the best dress of Grammys. So I think that effect of what one fashion moment can do on a red carpet today, and the celebrity culture driving the whole almost business of fashion, is very overwhelming and very rewarding at the same time. Today, it is the fastest way for a brand to actually become global,
Right.
and to be, and I think it's the strategy there correctly is to work with culturalists. We say, as you earlier said, we say 100 no's before we say a one yes to any celebrity request that comes in, because it has to be the right platform and the right collaboration. We collaborate with the stylist, have a deeper storytelling. I think what was the biggest viral moment, even more than Beyonce, was when RRR won their Oscar, and Junior NTR was wearing one of our bangalas with a tiger embroidered on it. And that was interviewed on the Oscars red carpet. And when he was saying this is an India story, tiger being the national animal of India, and he was representing a tiger in the movie. So I think that deeper storytelling with these celebrity moments have a massive virality to it.
That's amazing. That's incredible. Rahul, they say that some of the best Parisians come from abroad. You have so naturally been welcomed by the French. And I've seen this beautiful relationship between you and Paris. Like when you meet Rahul in Delhi and when you meet Rahul in Paris, they're two different people. I think even Masoom can attest that, right?
But we
So,
both haven't learned French yet.
what has drawn these two beautiful worlds together? Where do you see the connection?
So I think I'm the same, whether it's India or Paris. Uh, but the thing is, what is really magical about the city, Paris is, I was sharing this with somebody, like somebody really important, like how Paris has been a home ground for almost all the most most amazing artists in the world. When they reached Paris, it was kind of their moment in the world. And that's what is happening to fashion designers also. When you look at designers from Japan coming to Paris and creating something really big for themselves as well for the country, or when we look at although for us, I really feel For our brand, it's just a beginning. I will not say like if two of us have created an India movement, it's still in making. And I'm sure many of designers from India, they will get inspired. They will also join us in Paris. So yeah, in that way, uh, it is really beautiful, and I'm very very grateful to the city that 2013-14, after winning Woolmark Prize, I went to meet, had a meeting at Federation, and since that time they accepted us. So me and my team, all of us are like really grateful, and Paris is really inspiring, really really beautiful city in that way.
And has an amazing nightlife.
Again, not the right platform, not the right platform, Gaurav. I think they're going on a different trajectory. So I'm going to try and end this with one common question to both of them, which is that we talk of craft, we talk of couture, but A, consumers and audiences need to be educated, and two, unfortunately or fortunately, access to both is a function of commerce. Rahul, my question to you is, with a few, your new brand, is that a gap you are trying to bridge? And then my question to you, Gaurav, is, from your end, how are you bridging this gap? So let's go with you, Rahul.
So a few also happened with the idea because as a Rahul Mishra brand, we were ready to a brand till 2020, and then COVID hit, and we got invited to showcase our haute couture in Paris, and we switched gears. We became only couture brand. So somehow uh, that was a very natural progression for us, and even the Woolmark Prize win also happened because of the ready to wear collection. So in that, a few creates lot more accessible points, a better accessibility, and I always call it, it's not ready to wear, it's easy to wear. Something which you can take. People are global nomads. They like to travel. So this a few offers them a few more opportunities to enjoy Indian craftsmanship in easier and familiar shapes, which they can carry with them, enjoy wearing wherever they are.
I love ETW. That should be the new RTW. Easy to wear. Just sounds easy.
I
Gaurav,
didn't understand your question to me.
Gaurav, my question
I
is,
was lost in the nightlife in Paris.
you see what the effect of having us together is, Shri. So my question to you is, Gaurav, that whilst couture serves a great purpose for showcasing crafts and it has its place, unfortunately, to educate and to gain access to a larger audience or client base, there needs, you need commerce, right? You need to have more accessibility in terms of clothes. You can't be only focusing on couture. Or can you? What is your strategy to bridge the gap?
So, it is an interesting question.
Thanks,
Now that
Gaurav.
I get it, the thing is, I think in India, as Indian consumers, when I was listening to an earlier conversation as well, we tend to assume craft. As when we grow up, because our mothers are wearing beautiful textile saris, or there's embroidery in every designer household. There's so much craft that we've grown up with. And when you go out in the West and when or rest of the world, you see, oh my God, there is not tailoring is their craft, or there's a lot of different kind of crafts that are being celebrated, and not just the and there's a variety of craft in India. I think that gap is what designers like Rahul and I are bridging, and that's where we are again in a very unique position to be able to do that. So now for commerce, I think when we are able to Masoom is wearing one of our ready-to-wear pieces today, for example. We have actually managed to take our craft and still have it, for somebody in an international platform, that could be almost couture. But we are, as a brand, trying to make almost depends on where you want to place your brand, and we are able to scale that today, and we are selling from Moda Operandi, Bergdorf Goodman, Neiman Marcus, Jimmy's, whatnot, Harvey Nichols. So we are able to scale that today, and from our own website, we are able to scale that today when you build a whole backend structure to it. And I think the craft story there comes in when you intelligently place it. If I'm able to place, I think that tiger on that jacket, for me, is the answer when I'm able to scale that and still tell the craft story of India in a very futuristic way. There is a whole package there.
Well, thank you. Are we open to questions? Shimoy says we're not open to questions because we're late. But
I
thank
want questions.
guys, y'all can meet Gaurav outside and ask him questions. Um, Thank you for listening to us. And from easy to wear to tiger symbols on ready to wear to doing what you guys do best and saying no. I think so many interesting conversations, and thank you for your time and thank you for letting me be a part of this. Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.